I've been working on having more patience. I've been working on being more gracious. Can't kill myself for the time I wasted. Learn lessons come with elevation. I've been working on having more patience. I've been working on being more gracious. Can't kill myself for the time I wasted. Learn lessons come with elevation. I'm on a mission to achieve some greatness.
Hey, Aya.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi, Jackie.
How's everything going?
How everything is going great. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's been a long day to say the least.
Awesome.
But
Just give me a minute. Let me connect my iPods because they're not connected. Let me get this in order.
okay.
Let's go iPods. Why I can't hear anything? Let me see. Okay. Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Nah, they're not working. That's fine. It's all right.
No
Wait,
worries.
hold on. Let me.
I can hear you.
Just some technical issues.
You there, Aya?
Hello?
Yeah, are you good?
Okay. Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, got it. We're good.
All right, let's roll.
We are perfect. Let's rock and roll.
All right. So I want to thank everybody for coming on to the premiere of Lived Experiences. I have Aya with me. You want to tell them a bit about yourself, Aya?
Yeah, so my name is Aya Milagros. I am a mindset coach, speaker, author. I'm also a radio host. I do a lot of things. Basically, I teach people how to transform their life by teaching them how to learn to harness the power of declarations, how to speak life. So it's all about speaking life. So that's what we're going to be doing today.
Awesome. Yes. So today we're going to have a unscripted conversation about healthy relationships, how to build
Healthy
healthy
relation.
relationships. So, did you want to go first?
I mean, you know what? When I saw you put that topic up, I was like, this topic is like so important, and like I was so excited to actually talk about this topic because I used to be the queen of toxic relationships. I used to be the queen of unhealthy relationships. And I feel like once you've gone through that, then you're in a better position to actually understand, okay, what is a healthy relationship? So
Mm-hmm.
if you allow me to kind of elaborate a little bit, right? Okay, so
Yes.
healthy relationships. Me, I always try to go back to like biblical, I like to go back to biblical facts, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in the Bible tells us to love thy neighbor as you love yourself. And I think that phrase, that verse is so profound because it's like, okay, so my love to my neighbor is connected to how I love myself. So basically, what that would mean is that if you are not able to love yourself, you cannot love your neighbor. So this is valid for all types of relationships, meaning in order for us to have a healthy relationship with someone, so that's whether that's in friendship or in relationship or even, in a professional setting, in order for you to have a healthy relationship with whoever, whatever setting, you need to first have a healthy relationship with yourself. And I feel like that is I want to say, an aspect of relationships that a lot of people miss. And I see this a lot. where you meet people who struggle with, for example, and this is something that I have personally struggled with as well. And,
Yeah.
thank God that I was able to do the work and get delivered from that. But people who struggle from a fear of abandonment, people who struggle from a fear of rejection, people who suffer from a fear of being cheated on, or even trust issues. A lot of people are actually walking around with all these different issues. And then, first of all, they're not even aware of it. They're not even in a place of awareness where they could say, okay, pinpoint and say, you know what? I have this reaction. I feel triggered every time my partner does this. This could mean that I actually have an issue with abandonment, rejection, trust, cheating, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of us are not in that place of awareness where we understand why we do certain things in certain circumstances, right? But in order for us to get to that place where we could actually build healthy relationships with others, it has to first start with us. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way. In order for me to love somebody else, I had to first love myself unconditionally,
Yeah.
right? I had to fill myself up with love and get rid of all those fears of rejection and abandonment, and all those trust issues and fear of being cheated on, all these things, in order for me to now present myself in front of a partner and present myself whole,
Yeah.
and not whole with a bunch of holes, and then I'm just like all this toxicity just oozing out, right? But actually whole because I'm coming from a place of healing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've talked a lot, but
No worries. You're good. That's
so what's your
literally
take
what we're
on
here
that?
we're here to talk. So
Right.
the way that I look at it is that, like you said, from a biblical standpoint, I believe that the Bible does a great job of laying out certain and giving you a moral compass and laying out which direction you should go. So, love is patient, love is kind, love
Kind.
does not keep any record of wrongdoing. For me, I think one of the biggest foundational pieces of any relationship, especially if we're talking about romantic, is grace and forgiveness. A lot of times, we not every a lot of people have shortcomings. So we have to learn to know when this shortcoming becomes a red flag and it's going to be detrimental, or if it's something that this person is actively working on to better themselves with.
There you go.
So I think that we have to learn to give grace. And I've been married for 6 years now, and never in my life have I had to forgive someone as much as I've forgiven my wife and still be able to come back and love her unconditionally. And
Wow.
I'm sure she would say the same about me, because I've I'm not perfect. I've messed up a
Right.
lot. So it's understanding that when love does not, like it says, does not keep record of wrongdoing. So it's like, I half the time when we argue and me and my wife argue, she'll come to me a week later and she'll be like, I don't like how you did this and this. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. But I understand where you're coming from. And I think another aspect that we don't account for is accountability. If
Right.
you've done something to offend me and I say, hey, what you've done has offended me, you then don't get to turn around and say, you shouldn't feel that way, or that's not how it happened, or that's not what I did, because
Right.
you've done it to me, so you can't tell me how to feel. And I think just having, within any relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic, that those boundaries should be there, and you should be able to have those hard conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed also is that in order for you to have those hard conversations, you really have to be in a place where you're willing or you're open to receive
Yeah.
what that other person is going to say. So this is something that I usually do, and all types of settings, all types of relationships. If I have something to say, maybe, it's going to be something in regards to something that they did that that made me feel offended or that I didn't really like. I always ask them this question: are you open to receive what I am going to tell you?
Yeah.
Because you could be open to hear, right? Because hearing, you don't really have a choice. The person is talking, so you're going to be hearing. You might not be listening, but you're going to be hearing. So you're going to be open to hearing. But will you be open to receive, right? So receiving would be to be actually listening carefully, to understand and not to just respond, right?
Yes.
Because this is an issue that a lot of times we see in relationships. People listen just to respond. They don't listen to understand. But in order for you to move forward, and that's in any type of relationship, again, so that could be romantic or friendship. In order for you to move forward, you have to hear out the other person, because we have this misconception of feeling like the other person is a psychic and they know exactly what we're thinking. Whereas that is crazy. You are not, nobody is in your mind. Nobody could really say what is in your mind. So you have to be willing, first of all, to speak, to communicate. So communication is a big aspect when it comes to healthy relationships. So not only you have to be able to communicate, but you also have to be willing to listen, to hear your partner, hear your friend out, to understand where they are coming from. Because here we go again. They are not in your head and you are not in their head. So unless you are willing to hear them out, right? And unless you're willing to communicate, then it's always going to be an issue. But we're talking about healthy. So healthy relationships include communication, and that is both ways. It can't be a one-way communication. It can't be me saying how I feel and not allowing the other person on the other side to say how they feel. So it's me listening and me also being willing to speak, right? Just to
reciprocity is major.
Right.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. But just to add to communication as well. So now the other important thing in terms of communication, because we all say, oh, we communicate, great, but we have to learn to communicate in a healthy manner.
Yes.
Right? So that means that now I am coming to you from a place of love, not from a place of anger or hate or a place of fear, right? So this means that maybe I might have to take a little bit of time before I address this topic with you, because I don't want to address it while I am angry. Because if I address it while I'm angry, the things that might come out might not be the nicest things, right? So I believe that we have to, like you talked about, grace, right? Allowing people the time and giving them the grace to actually take their time and come to you at a good time. The communication has to happen when both people are willing to receive and to give. If you're forcing communication with someone who is not open to receive because they're still trying to figure out their feelings, they're still trying to deal with their emotions, they're still angry, it's going to be hard to communicate. So a big part of communication also the time and the setting you choose to communicate in.
Yeah. And just to even add on to that, it's the nonverbal body language that people don't understand sometimes. Because I remember I was trying to have a conversation with someone who will remain unnamed, and they responded, and it wasn't the words that offended me, it was the body language, it was the head shaking and the jumping at me, and that's what offended me. So I've also learned that when you're communicating with someone, you have to understand, or you have to question, does this person have the capacity to understand where I'm coming from? So a lot of times, like, we're trying to give these people like this grandiose message and they don't understand it. So it's like they can't comprehend what you're putting out because they're not in a place where they can receive it. So like you said, a lot of times you have to wait, you have to process, and you have to come back to it later. But it's also the packaging. There's my tone of voice, my nonverbal cues, my eyes, and my rolling my eyes, and my sticking my tongue. All these little things can set people off, and they can be perceived negatively. So it's
Right.
not just the communication. It's, like you said, how are you communicating? That makes
Right.
a great difference.
And you said something very interesting. You said sometimes people don't have the capacity to receive. So, I was on my radio show this morning, and one of my listeners, they asked a question. They were like, okay, well, I have this person, they're self-destructive. Like, how can I help them, right? Without cutting them off, because, I really want to help them. But this was my answer, right, to them.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You cannot help somebody who does not feel like they need help.
Facts. Yeah.
You cannot help somebody that doesn't believe that they need help. Okay. So this means that, and I believe that you mentioned a slight notion of this in the beginning, right? In order for someone to actually be in that process, in order for someone to grow, right, and heal and come into a more healthier relationship, they have to already be in that process of, okay, awareness that, hey, I have some things to work on.
Yeah.
I need to heal from this, right, in order for me to be better. I want to take my example. I broke off my engagement 2 years ago. I was engaged and I broke off the engagement, right? And what I realized, right, with now looking back, taking some, time to actually reflect and look back at that whole relationship, like there's so many things that I want to say, like that, I for a long time, I put a lot of blame on my ex-partner.
Yeah.
But today I am open enough, and I have the wisdom and I want to say the capacity to say that I was toxic in there as well.
Yeah. And it's crazy because it's the thought of that is freeing, because you have to take responsibility for yourself,
Right.
not as a person, as an adult, but it's comforting to be able to say, it wasn't me. I wasn't the toxic person, and it was all their fault. That makes you feel good. That feeds your ego,
Right.
But to sit down and say, I messed up. I could have done better.
Right.
I could have done this better. That's when you begin to take about accountability, and that's when the growth begins. Because what I think a lot of people forget is that in every relationship, we're two individuals trying to walk alongside each other. Your path is most likely not my path, and mine is most likely not yours. So the areas that I'm growing in, you may not be able to relate to. And so even with that, it's you, even though you can't relate to my differences, you should still be able to respect them and respect those boundaries that come along with it.
Right.
And
exactly.
For me, that's how me and my wife attack everything. It's because she's music and performing arts, dancing, singing. She's all of that. And I've done sports my whole life, and I'm getting into speaking. So it's like we're in two different arenas, but we understand and we respect each other's differences, and we do our best wherever I can help in and help her grow, and wherever she can help in. So you have to respect each other. I think respect will be foundational for every relationship.
Definitely. And so here's the thing about being able to actually self-assess and say, okay, I messed up as well. It's because from that place now of your brokenness, you can actually say, hey, I want to do better. And you can start that process of growth, right? But a process of growth cannot start unless you actually recognize that growth needs to happen. A process of healing cannot start unless you recognize that healing needs to happen. Right. And so much times, like, we struggle with so many things and we're like, oh, well, this is just who I am. No, you can grow from there. You can do better. And when you love unconditionally, you do the work, not only for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, but for your partner,
Yeah.
right? Because you can change, you can do better. And you talked about respect. And the Bible tells us clearly, us wives, we have to respect our husbands.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a toxic, if you're in a, I want to say, if you're being a toxic one, obviously respect is not there. You're
Absolutely.
losing respect for your partner, right? So you're
Yeah.
not even in I want to say you're not even in the will of God for that
Mm-hmm.
relationship because you've already lost respect.
Yeah.
And if you've lost respect for your husband, you're obviously your husband's gonna be he's gonna lose love for you because in order for him to love you, he needs that respect from you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-way street, and vice versa, right? So
Yeah,
it's the same
absolutely.
thing. When that husband is not showing enough love to his wife, right? What's gonna happen? She's gonna start losing respect
Mm-hmm.
because he's not giving what he needs to give in order to for her to be feel comfortable within that relationship.
Yeah. It goes
So
back.
go ahead.
It goes back to reciprocity. I can't expect something out of you that I cannot give myself.
Right,
You know.
right. Exactly, definitely. And you know, and a lot of times that becomes an issue because we expect so much from others, right?
Mm-hmm.
We expect so much from others, but are you even giving that to yourself?
No. I think a lot of times we don't know that we don't love ourselves enough until we're in that situation.
Right,
Because I had a friend that I grew up with. I'm talking about because I grew up in foster care. So, my life hasn't been ideal. And
right,
this was somebody that I thought was like my day one. Like we slept in cars together because we had no place to stay. And,
wow,
they went off to the military. And when they came back, I'm thinking that the love is still the same because in my head it still is, but in his head he saw me as competition. He saw for
wow.
some odd reason he thought that I was better than him or everybody else, and that wasn't the case. So it goes back to you have to understand that you have to love yourself enough to sometimes let go of those toxic relationships. And I even with hair, you got to cut the dead hair so the healthy hair can grow. Like
Girl,
you let go of the dead weight so you can swim to the surface. It's okay, but you also have to discern. It's crazy because when you are out of the will of God and He sends you signs and you ignore them, those signs reappear and they
they
get bigger
reappear.
and bigger. you know so it's like he's telling
Listen,
you, hey, this person doesn't belong in your life. They're not going where I'm taking you. Let them
listen,
go. Yeah.
listen. I promise you. I tell myself, listen, believe them the first time. When those red flags show up, believe them the first time because I promise you they're going to show up again. But to add to what you're saying, hurt people.
Yes.
Hurt people hurt people, right? So what
Hmm.
does that mean? That means that a lot of times when people are coming to you and they're showing some type of jealousy or they're aggressive, it's because it's a wound an
Hmm.
inner wound that has been, I want to say, triggered, an
Yeah.
inner wound that has not healed, an inner wound that just keeps opening back up because they have not done the work. So sometimes it could be minor little things. And you could be thinking like, oh my God, this person is crazy. Like, why are they taking it like this? Like, why are they even thinking like that? But sometimes it's so deep.
Hmm.
Sometimes that wound is so deep, right? That
Yeah.
they have not, unfortunately, developed the capacity to deal with that wound. Sometimes they don't even have they don't even have the knowledge that that wound even exists.
Hmm. and
And some people, go ahead.
and I've learned that people tend to treat you the way that they feel on the inside. So
Right.
the way that you treat me is not about me. because I treat myself with the utmost respect. I honor myself.
Right.
So the way that you are treating me, that's a reflection of how you
Of
feel.
you feel.
Yeah, that's not on me. Yeah. You
And
know,
that's
somebody
it.
just having a bad day and they just take it out on somebody else. That's all that
Right.
is. The misplaced anger. Yeah, that's
The
you
the
keep that over there. Yeah.
aggressivity, the anger, all these things, it's
Hmm.
because they are filled with that, right?
Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
because inside of them they have all this anger that is just it's a turmoil. They have so much anger, so much hurt, so much fear, and the only thing they can give is that anger and
Yeah.
that fear and all that turmoil, because that's all they have.
Hmm.
That's all they have to give. So and then a lot of times in these type of situations, those persons would blame shift, meaning that they would always blame
Yeah.
the other person.
Hmm.
At no point they would tell themselves, maybe it's me, maybe there's something I need to work on. No, it's always, well, you did this to me, you did that to me. They would just find every excuse because you have to be the issue. It cannot
Yeah.
be them.
Yeah.
Because hear me out. Because if ever, right, they tell themselves, I'm the issue, that obliges them to have to do a work.
Hmm.
That obliges them to have to go back to that painful memory.
Yeah. It,
That
it
obliges them, yeah, to go back into the past and have to dig up what happened and what created that hurt initially. And nobody wants to do that.
yeah,
Nobody wants to go back to that place.
it forces the reality that they created around themselves to come crashing down because you are no longer perfect, not in your
Right,
eyes anymore. And
right.
that's a hard place to be. You know, I've been perfect my whole life. I've never done anything wrong. And now all of a sudden this person is telling me that almost everything I do is wrong. Like, no, it can't be me.
It can't be me. It has to be you. It cannot be me.
It has, yeah.
Because if I have to accept it's me, that means that I have an issue. And I cannot accept that I have an issue because I already think so lowly of myself
Hmm.
that I cannot add another layer of me not being good enough.
Absolutely.
Right?
Eh, yeah.
So, in order for me to remain sane, in order for me to keep my head above water, I'm just going to put the blame on the other person. It cannot be me.
I think one of the best things that this generation is doing is bringing down the stigma of therapy. I think that we are doing a great job of promoting it and promoting mental health because some people can be saved, but I some people, they are not worth it. It's also not your job to save everybody.
Right,
If we meet back up late, I'm a firm believer in I can love you from a distance. I'll forgive you what you've done. The
right,
forgiveness, the forgiveness is for me. That's to purify my heart, my mind, so there's no ill will against you.
right.
But I don't need to allow you access back into my life. And I'm
There
a
you
firm
go.
believer of that. Like my mom is like, "You're so black and white," and I'm like, I'm the same way with everybody across the board.
Right.
I don't give out disrespect, so I don't tolerate disrespect.
There you go.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, right? I had this discussion today. You have the responsibility to preserve your peace.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
have the responsibility to preserve your sanity.
Yeah.
So this means that you are the one who have to decide who is allowed in your environment or not.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because there's certain people who are going to come into your environment. Why? To distract you, to destroy the gift that God has placed in you,
Hmm.
to even kill your ambition, right?
Yeah.
And to keep you bound and stuck. Some people have been specifically sent into your life for these specific reasons: to block you, to destroy your mission, to destroy your passion, to destroy everything, to keep you bound, to keep you broke, and to keep you low, right? So we have to come now into this space of awareness where we recognize those people and we set the right boundaries. And I say, if it does not come with peace, if it does not come with love, if it does not come with joy, I don't want it, because I don't believe that's from God. Because I believe in the word of God, and I believe the word of God says that he has great things in store for me, right? His plans are to prosper me, to give me hope, and to give me a good life. So it cannot look, if it doesn't come with peace, love, and joy, I don't want it.
Yeah.
If you come into my environment and the only thing you're bringing is destruction, the only thing you're bringing is negativity, the only thing you're bringing is nagging, and it's always a bad energy, I don't need you in my environment.
Absolutely.
You're messing up my vibration. You're killing my vibration. You're killing my vibration. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Because once you understand, and hear me out, once you understand the mission, your mission on this earth, right? The reason why God has called you on this earth, and you understand that mission, right? You have to carry that baby.
Yeah.
And I always call all my projects, I call them my babies. Now, when you are carrying a baby, when God has given you a baby to carry, as a mother, as a father, you want to protect that baby. You want to protect that baby from any exterior attacks. You're going to do everything to protect that baby. And you should have the same mindset when it comes to your mission.
Yes.
When it comes to your life purpose. Okay? So that means that if you understand that this life mission, this purpose, needs you to protect it from every exterior attack, because they're going to come, then you would be much more wary or much more aware of the people that you allow in your environment. Because those that come to create destruction, to create confusion, to create an environment of hate or of fear or whatever that is, they're not sent from God.
Absolutely. Yeah, because God is not a God of chaos.
God is not a God of chaos. So whenever someone comes in, right, and all they bring is chaos, I'm not saying that some people cannot change. Yes, they have to be in that process of, I know I have work to be done, right? I need to be working on myself. So maybe I could use a little help. But if they're in that mindset where it's like, no, I'm good. You're the wrong one. You're the one. Nah, I don't need, I need to love you from afar. You said it very good. We good, but we gonna be real good from afar.
Facts. All right. On that note, we're gonna end. We're a little over time. Thank you, Aya. Where can everybody follow you at?
So you can follow me on Facebook at Aya Milagros, at AYA Aya Milagros, MILAGROS. You can also find me on Instagram, and that's Aya Milagros as well, or Light of Aya, like light, because I bring light. Light of Aya, and TikTok also Aya Milagros. I would love to connect with everyone who is listening right now and who will also be watching the replay.
Yeah. And then before we go, we did touch on the topic of mental health a little bit.
Right.
My sister, she's a therapist. She's accepting new clients. Check her out. She, your favorite social worker. You can find her on Instagram. So shout out to Tashar.
And just to add quickly on mental health, here's the thing, and this is something that we have to all understand. We were not born with all the tools needed to handle every difficult situation that we go through in life. And sometimes we just need help. Yeah. And that doesn't say anything about you being not good enough or anything. I've been to therapy, and that was one of the best things that I did. You understand what I mean? One of the best things I did. I've been to therapy. A lot of people that I know have been to therapy. Therapy is something, it's for you. When you go to therapy, you're actually doing yourself a service, because you're actually going and taking that step to gain the tools to learn how to deal with whatever you're going through, whatever you're struggling, and get rid of those triggers so that you can start living a life more abundantly, more full of joy and more full of peace. So therapy would be your gift to yourself, basically.
Absolutely. And just leaving off on this note, I genuinely believe it takes more strength to ask for help than to carry the burden alone. So
Right.
put your ego aside and get the help you need. Because
Put
a
your
better,
egos.
yeah,
Yeah.
a better you is better for the community.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you
Definitely.
for your,
Put your ego, what you said, put your ego aside and get in therapy.
yeah,
Yes.
it's really that simple.
Yes,
So
I love that. Definitely, I agree. So can we just look through our Facebook family? Latricia, hey, come into the stage, family.
yeah,
Every
yeah.
adult must learn the art of accountability and responsibility for actions. Definitely. Yes, access has to be in. Deny access when necessary. Deny access when
Hmm.
necessary. Basically, very simple as that. So we want to thank our Facebook family for locking in with us, for
Yeah,
joining the
yeah.
live, and of course, those who will be watching on YouTube as well. Don't forget to leave your comments. We will definitely be going through and answering any questions if you have any.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for watching the replay. We appreciate you. Have a good
There you
evening.
go. Bye. What do I do?